Chosen one, a boundary is not a fence that keeps love out. It is a frame that helps love take shape. To carry unusual energy without causing usual harm, you must learn to bless the edges. The world has had its fill of men who burn bright in the center and leave splinters at the margins. God is teaching you to smooth the edges until people can lean without bleeding. This is the work beneath the glow, the carpentry of selfhood. Begin with the boundary of truth. Truth is not merely what you feel, it is what you are willing to live by when feeling shifts. The sentences that protect your life will be short enough to remember under adrenaline. I do not trade accuracy for approval. I do not rent intimacy by the hour. I do not spend tomorrow's peace to decorate tonight. You do not post these lines on a wall. You keep them in your mouth. When attention spikes and the room warms, you say one out loud and watch the temperature settle. Boundaries spoken kindly reorganize weather. Time is a sacred edge, perhaps the most contested one. Your minutes are altars or ashtrays depending on who you let smoke in them. You protect beginnings from hurry and endings from contempt. You agree to meet when you can bring all of you, not just your legend. You leave while affection is still intact, because scarcity poisons sweetness into addiction. You schedule Sabbath like a non-negotiable meeting with the one who loved you before your first compliment. When you treat time like holy ground, people stop trampling it. They take off their shoes, speak softer, and the hours stop breaking under the weight of everyone's fear. Consent is the boundary that turns power into safety. You establish it not as a clause to be checked off, but as a climate to be kept. In your climate, bodies are persons with names, not props with uses. In your climate, no is not a negotiation to be worn down. It is a compass to be honored. In your climate, yes is not coerced by charisma. It is chosen in the light. You signal this with microacts. You ask before you move a chair. You wait for eyes before you change a subject. You price touch at the value of trust, which is to say, infinitely high. The mystery people attribute to you becomes maturity when they realize nothing about you requires anyone to recover from meeting you. The boundary of tone may be the least understood and the most transformative. Your voice, as you've learned, carries weather. Keep it from becoming a storm. Do not let sarcasm purchase a laugh at the cost of someone's face. Do not let eloquence hide a lack of intention. Do not let silence impersonate punishment. Speak with proportion so that people know where they stand without having to build a trial in their heads. When you must correct, do it while hope is still breathing. When you must decline, do it while gratitude is still warm. When you must end, do it while respect is still real. Tone is a way of saying, you are safe even in my no. There is an edge around your story that must be guarded with reverence. Not every room earns access to every chapter. You are not hiding, you are handling. Sacred things spoil under fluorescent light. Share what serves, withhold what would be turned into content, and entrust the rest to a few who have proven they can carry weight without converting it into leverage. Women who meet you will feel this discernment and relax. Men who walk with you will learn it and grow. Boundaries around story teach a culture how to resist the colonization of intimacy. Your high sexual energy must learn the boundary of assignment. Energy without assignment becomes appetite that shops for a target. Assignment turns energy into architecture. You give your current specific jobs to complete the project that has waited for your attention, to listen longer than you instinctively would, to pray with names instead of vague nobility, to finish workouts that are hard but kind to your future, to write the letter that repairs a small fracture before it becomes a break. Appetite untasked becomes mischief. Energy task becomes mercy. Boundary invites misreading. Some will call it fear because their only category for closeness is collapse. Some will call it arrogance because they were taught love means access on demand. Some will call it religious because frameworks feel like cages to those who have only seen cages. Resist the reflex to litigate your life. Your job is not to convert every critic. It is to keep covenant with the assignment. Fruit will be your rebuttal. Fruit is hard to argue with. Restored souls, cleaner rooms, clearer decisions, fewer apologies that require a witness to be believable. Over months, fruit becomes a language even the suspicious start to understand. Make agreements with yourself that preempt negotiation. You will not be alone in a vulnerable moment with someone you cannot ethically comfort. You will not accept invitations that advertise you louder than your values. You will not answer messages after a certain hour, because late-night attention is a currency you have decided not to spend. You will not let compliments outrun your character by more than a day. These are not medieval rules, they are modern seatbelts. You do not plan to crash. You plan to live if someone else does. A boundary is strongest when it is soft at the face and firm at the hinge. The softness is your smile, your thank you, your I'm honored. The hinge is your not for me, not like this, not at this speed. Softness without hinge is sentiment. Hinge without softness is severity. The world needs neither. It needs men whose edges teach rather than threaten. It needs men whose fences have gates and whose gates have locks and whose locks are opened by consent, not by charisma. It needs chosen ones who can welcome hunger to the table and serve it bread instead of fantasy. At night, audit the edges. Where did a boundary hold and bless? Where did a rule punish when it could have taught? Where did you add a lock out of fear instead of wisdom? Where did you remove one because love had matured into trust? Give thanks for the clean lines that made dignity cheap today. Repent for any sharpness that nicked a good heart. Adjust the hinge. Oil the gate. Sleep as a man who understands that holiness is not harshness. It is hospitality with a memory. And when morning returns, let your boundaries go before you like a rumor of safety. Let them announce to every room that your presence is a gift that does not invoice later. Let them tell every pair of eyes that admiration may visit, but exploitation may not move in. Let them promise to the quiet that their quiet will not be taxed. Then walk through your day as if God Himself drew these lines on the map of your life, for He did. The sacred boundary is not a prison, it is the perimeter of a garden where people can grow. Chosen one, the loudest thing about you is not your words. It is your way. Rooms memorize what you do long after they forget what you said. This is why the gaze lingers even when you are quiet. Why women seem spellbound in your orbit before a sentence has earned the moment. They are not bewitched. They are witnessing coherence. Your body has learned to agree with your spirit. An agreement is rare enough to feel like a miracle. The world has been catechized by speeches and starved of examples. Your life arrives as a living homily, preached in the grammar of pace and posture, in the liturgy of how you hold a door and how you end a conversation while tenderness still has breath. Sermons that do not require microphones are born where vow meets habit. You have chosen small, stubborn fidelities and kept them when attention tried to bribe you with shortcuts. The fidelity to end on time, which says to every soul nearby, your rest matters as much as my presence. The fidelity to repair quickly, which says your dignity is more important than my ego's courtroom. The fidelity to laugh without hiring anyone else's embarrassment as entertainment, which says joy is clean here. These unadvertised obediences gather force until a room can lean against them. People call it charisma because they don't know what to name infrastructure that feels like kindness. Your high sexual energy is part of this sermon, not its whole text. When it is governed, it glows through your restraint like sunlight through stained glass, coloring the room without setting anything ablaze. The lesson carried on that light is ancient and needed. Desire can be generous. It can be ardent without being acquisitive, expressive without being extractive, warm without insisting on purchase. Women who have only known heat as a preface to hunger encounter a different physics around you. The spell they feel is relief wearing wondrous clothing. Their nervous systems recognize a climate where attraction is allowed to breathe without being turned into a contract. They are not hypnotized. They are unbraced. The sermon continues in how you locate the quiet people. You carry a magnet not only for those who orbit the spotlight, but for those who hold the building together from the edges. You remember names without angling for applause. You thank the one who set the chairs, the one who edited the words nobody will ever know were rescued, the one who picked the playlist that made the conversation kinder. This redistribution of attention is not a performance. It is an economy. Wherever you stand, status stops being the only currency, and service appreciates overnight. Women feel that economy as ease because rooms where service is honored are rooms where safety is possible. Your sermon includes the way you carry endings. Leaving gracefully is a sacrament. You exit meetings before fatigue can weaponize honesty. You end flirtation without turning it into a humiliation ritual. You say not for me without hiring theater to make your boundary look brave. Each clean exit is a benediction that keeps tomorrow from inheriting today's adrenaline. The lesson being learned in your wake is simple and subversive. Men can turn away without turning cold. The spell, if one must name it so, is merely the shock of witnessing masculine power choose stewardship over spectacle. There is also the sermon of your open hands. Gifts come to you because you no longer chase them. They can sense when they will not be held hostage for your image. You receive what fits your vow and reinvest the rest into people who will multiply goodness without needing to tag you. You can say, "This belongs with her," and mean it without residue. The hypnotic part, if observers insist on romantic language, is actually humility losing nobody any ground. Pride argues for its place. Humility makes room and becomes the place. Women notice the difference immediately. One kind of man takes up space and calls it presence. Another kind leaves space and calls it trust. You are learning the latter, and rooms reorder themselves around it like a flock finally sighting true north. The sermon speaks through your attention. Presence is more than eye contact. It is the refusal to multitask a soul. You do not check a glowing rectangle while a living person is risking the next sentence. You do not glance over a shoulder to scout for brighter rooms. You let the moment be big enough to matter and small enough to be held. This steadiness tells stories that words cannot carry. You are not a commodity. You are a person. Nothing has to perform to be precious here. The trance others describe is simply the body relaxing when it realizes it will not be turned into content. Of course, there are eyes that arrive hungry for rescue. They will test your generosity the way a storm tests a roof. Your sermon is not complete if it depends on the weather being gentle. You keep the same temperature when someone asks more than you can give. You say, "I hear you, and I cannot carry what your history hired me to hold." You bless with referrals instead of grand gestures that would mortgage your soul. You do not make ministries out of moments because it flatters you to be necessary. Necessary men burn out and take sanctuaries with them. Assigned men endure and leave sanctuaries stronger. Your assignment is to keep the fire in the hearth, not to run through the village with torches. The sermon even shows up in your fashioning of time. You arrive early enough to become calm before the moment borrows your calm. You prepare as though excellence were a love language, not a branding strategy. You decline opportunities that require you to sprint past prayer. You choose to be boring to the algorithm so that you can be beautiful to those who are learning again how to trust. The so-called hypnosis here is simply rhythm reclaiming its throne from chaos. Rhythm is persuasive. Rhythm is fatherly. Rhythm is a kindness to bodies that have been punished by erratic leadership. Women hear rhythm and remember how to breathe. At night, the sermon turns inward. You lay the day on the table where God does his most precise carpentry. Here is where I enjoyed being impressive. Here is where I chose to be present. Here is where I used warmth to hide from honesty. Here is where I let honesty turn warmth into respect. He sands the splinters and steadies the joints. You fall asleep under his workmanship, and the unspoken sermon prepares itself to be preached again, without scripts, without effort, without you needing to manipulate a single gaze. Chosen ones, resonance is the mystery behind what the world keeps calling your spell. Two strings tuned to the same note will sing together across a room if one is plucked. Two hearts tuned to peace will quiet each other without a plan. Your high energy is a frequency. The question is whether it is tuned. Untuned power is noise that demands attention. Tuned power is music that gives attention. Women who meet you are not being dazzled. They are being tuned. Their bodies, which have survived rooms pitched to panic, find your tone and begin to harmonize. What feels like hypnosis is merely relief multiplied by coherence. Resonance begins in your chest. Breath is the first tuning fork. The inhale that refuses to bargain with urgency, the exhale that releases outcomes you cannot own. This is how you set your note before the day asks you to sing someone else's part. You have learned to check your pitch with simple, stubborn rituals. Water before news, scripture before schedule, movement before microphones, quiet before questions. None of this is dramatic. All of it is decisive. When you calibrate early, everything later either harmonizes or reveals itself as dissonance you are not required to host. Rooms are ecosystems of sound. Every person brings a tone shaped by history, hunger, habit. When you enter tuned, you do not overpower the chorus. You invite it to find a key where beauty costs less. You adjust by presence, not by control. A conversation too sharp softens because your voice will not pay cruelty for cleverness. A meeting too fast slows because your pace refuses to treat adrenaline as evidence. A flirtation too loud quiets because your boundaries tell the truth without theatrics. Over time, environments that once required management begin to self-regulate around the standard your resonance suggests. Consent as climate, clarity as kindness, rest as righteousness, truth as tenderness with a spine. Resonance has hygiene. You guard your inputs because you are not a closed system. Gossip detunes you with invisible grit. Envy loosens your strings a quarter turn at a time. Sleep deprivation warps the wood that keeps your instrument true. So you clean your frequency with practices both ancient and ordinary. Confession that drains shame's static, gratitude that warms the tone, forgiveness that removes the burr from your consonants, exercise that reminds the drum of your ribs what it was built to hold. You do not perform wellness, you protect resonance. Those who depend on your steadiness, whether they know it or not, are safer when you keep this covenant with your own instrument. Your sexual energy is resonance's amplifier. It increases the reach of whatever note you choose. If you select spectacle, the whole room throbs with it, and the aftermath is hangover. If you choose stewardship, quiet becomes audible even at the back row, and the aftermath is rest. Amplification is why you cannot afford the old flirtation with chaos. The friends of your 20s, late-night epiphanies, ambiguous invitations, intensity misnamed intimacy, detune a man precisely when his voltage rises. You are learning to pass them without a sermon. Your no is a tuning decision, not a moral panic. You simply prefer harmony to headlines. Resonance is not agreement, it is alignment. You can harmonize with someone whose opinions you do not share because both of you love accuracy more than victory. You can resonate with grief without sinking into it because your note includes hope that doesn't perform. You can hold space for anger without hiring it as your spokesperson because your pitch refuses to trade truth for spectacle. Women feel this as clarity that does not cancel. They relax because your presence does not require them to amputate their complexity to be welcomed. Your tune has room. There will be those who try to capture your frequency and bottle it for their private playlist. They will ask you to be everywhere at once. They will request access as if your tone were a faucet. They will confuse resonance with responsibility. You stay faithful by returning every demand to the first tuning fork. If saying yes detunes your breath, you are not called. If the invitation requires you to raise your volume beyond truth, you are not sent. If the moment will spend the month's music on 10 minutes of applause, you are not available. Saying no at this level is not austerity, it is orchestration. The symphony depends on you protecting the song from being chopped into ringtones. Resonance is also contagious in the noblest way. Men near you start matching your pitch without realizing they have changed keys. They finish the meeting on time because your cadence made excess feel gauche. They apologize with verbs because your repairs taught them repair is not humiliation but honor. They stop using charm to buy discounts on virtue because your standard made full price feel like dignity, not deprivation. Women near you start trusting their own tempos again. They say no faster and with less explanation. They say yes slower and with more joy. They take up the space your frequency keeps making, and in doing so, become tuning forks in their own right. This is resonance at scale, a culture that remembers its note. Do not be surprised when resonance draws confession. Sound loosens what shame calcifies. People will tell you the truth around your voice because your note has made lying too expensive. Treat confessions not as trophies but as trusts. Return them sealed to their owners. Pray their future into pitch. Help them build structures that let their new note survive old rooms. You are not an archive. You are an accompanist. Your job is not to keep their secrets as leverage, but to keep their dignity as legacy. Technology complicates resonance because it multiplies weak signals. You refuse to let the feed become your tuning fork. When your sound starts chasing metrics, it gets brittle. You are learning to let silence outrank the scroll. You resist the infinite hallway of opinions until your pitch could survive the echo chamber without bending. When you do speak into the stream, you keep the timbre that people recognize in person. Measured, merciful, precise. You turn down the reverb on outrage and up the gain on nuance. You accept that nuance travels slower and reaches deeper. Slowness is a feature of truth, not a flaw. There is a physics to being misunderstood in bright seasons. The same coherence that calms many will irritate some because their maps require mess to feel alive. Do not alter your note to soothe their suspicion. Let time do the mixing. The longer your frequency sustains, the more false tones fall away. It is difficult to argue for chaos when peace keeps producing fruit. Keep playing true. Keep leaving early. Keep preparing quickly. Keep blessing quietly. Before long, even those predisposed to mistrust will borrow your pitch when they need something elegant to survive a hard hour. Resonance honors beginnings and endings with equal gravity. When you arrive, you listen long enough to find the room's note before you offer yours. When you leave, you do it while the chord is still sweet. You do not drag out a moment because ego wants an encore. You finish while hope is singing, and the melody lingers after your footsteps fade. The lingering is not magic, it is math. Frequencies that align keep sounding in memory. This is the gentle echo people call your spell. Let them. You know it as faithful tone, doing what tone was designed to do. At night, you lower the volume until only the first tuning fork remains. You ask simple questions that tune the soul with surgical precision. Where did my note hold while pressure pushed? Where did I bend to be beloved when truth would have been enough? Where did my energy amplify what blesses, and where did it accidentally make noise feel like necessity? Gratitude is the reward for the first answers. Repentance is the path for the second. Sleep is the seal for both. Morning will come asking for music again. You will be ready, not because you are trying to hypnotize anyone, but because you have learned the law behind the wonder. Tuned hearts change rooms. Keep yours tuned, chosen one, and let the world hear itself becoming whole. Chosen one, power that keeps its shape learns to kneel. The attention you carry will try to teach you a false math, that being looked at is the same as being needed, that being desired is the same as being destined, that being central is the same as being faithful. Humility corrects the arithmetic. It reminds your hands that elevation is for service, not spectacle. It reminds your mouth that clarity is kinder than charm. It reminds your heart that being chosen does not mean being the point. The reason women seem transfixed when they meet you is not a trick of the eye. It is the relief of encountering a man who does not turn their attention into attacks. That relief is rare, and rarity looks like wonder from the outside. Humility is not smallness, it is accurate scale. It keeps the room large enough for other people's names, stories, and timings. It lets you stand inside admiration without renting your conscience for the month. It lets you receive affection without converting it into leverage. It lets you tell the truth without staging a trial. You practice this by fasting from self-importance in ordinary moments, taking the slow seat at the table and making it holy, ending on time and calling it love, praising in public and correcting in private, leaving early enough that the evening can keep its sweetness. Modest moves like these are not ascetic, they are architecture. They make a culture where people stop bracing for the bait and switch that fame often brings. The high current in your body loves velocity. Humility gives it direction. When flattery arrives wrapped as prophecy, humility opens it carefully and throws away the bow. When nostalgia asks you to overshare because mystery feels like hunger, humility remembers that sacred things spoil under fluorescent light. When a room offers you exemptions, arrive late, talk long, spend people, humility pays full price for dignity and tips extra. Over time, the people closest to you become historians of your scale. They will say of you that your volume did not rise when your platform did, that your kindness did not shrink when the pressure swelled, that your decisions stayed human when headlines tried to make you myth. Humility keeps an audit, not a dramatic reckoning, but a daily bookkeeping where you balance the ledgers between impact and intent? Where did I make it easier for someone to keep their agency? Where did my tone collect a debt I never intended to charge? Where did attention try to purchase access? And how did I keep the price the same for everyone? You answer without theater, adjust without delay, and keep a short account with those who matter. Quick apologies are a sign of strength, not shortage. They say to anyone watching that power under God has nothing to fear from truth. You will be invited to become indispensable. Decline. Indispensability flatters and then imprisons. It turns your calendar into a coliseum and your soul into stadium lights that must stay on even when the field is empty. Humility allows you to be assigned instead. Assigned men can rest without guilt, plan without panic, hand the microphone to another without feeling their chest cave in. Assignment makes you generous with exits. You leave rooms while respect is still warm. You leave roles when your growth would make you a poor fit for the frame. You leave conversations when more words would buy less trust. Women read this composure as safety because they have learned, often the hard way, that necessity is the mother of manipulation. You are not necessary, you are faithful. Faithful is enough. Humility also orders your hunger. Desire is not the enemy, pretense is. You let longing speak without letting it legislate. You listen for the difference between chemistry and calling, between recognition and relationship, between shared wonder and shared work. When you discover that the attention aimed at you is really a search for the person behind you, God, peace, home, you do the most tender thing a man with your voltage can do. You point. Literally with your hand sometimes, quietly with your schedule always, consistently with your refusals to be rented. Your refusal is not cold, it is accurate. Accuracy prevents repentance later from needing to be public to be believable. The humility you carry will sometimes be misread as distance. Let it. Misreading is weather, fruit is climate. In a year, the stories told about you will sound less like rumor and more like relief. He left people more themselves than he found them. He could be admired without asking to be owned. He used the light on him to show the way to something larger than him. These are the sentences humility is after. These are the sentences that will outlast the month's voltage and keep writing themselves into the lives that passed near yours. To keep humility warm, practice invisibility on purpose. Do work that never tags you. Fund goodness that will never quote you. Send encouragement that nobody will screenshot. Pick up a phone instead of a megaphone when a quiet repair will save a friendship from becoming content. Visit the elders who never learned the algorithm and carry their stories like blueprints back to rooms that think new means better. Nothing cools the addiction to being seen like the discipline of serving where no one is watching. You do not disappear. You become quiet infrastructure under other people's courage. There is a benediction humility speaks at the end of long days. I was not the hero. I was the harbor. A hero collects applause. A harbor collects boats so they can rest and sail again. Harbors are built through dredging, removing what makes the channel shallow. You will dredge ego, haste, and the urge to be necessary again and again. The channel widens, ships exhale. If anyone calls that hypnosis, smile. You know it as humility doing its patient engineering in the dark, preparing safe passage for lives that do not belong to you. Chosen one, peace is your truest ornament. You have learned much about heat and gravity and tone, but the crown that fits you best is made of quiet. Still waters do not perform. They do not advertise depth, they bear it. They do not chase reflections. They receive them and hand them back undistorted. The reason women feel taken by you is that their souls are thirsty and stillness tastes like water. The body recognizes a pond that does not demand, a river that does not rush, a shore that does not sell tickets. And yet this peace is not passive. It is governance turned into climate. It is authority gentled into habitat. Stillness has a watershed. Far upstream are the springs of devotion. Those first minutes of the day when your name is spoken by the one who knows it best. When the scriptures reintroduce you to your own voice. When breath reminds the chest that it is not a factory but a bellows. Tributaries join from craft, counsel, and care. The work you do with excellence when nobody is counting, the voices you let adjust your course before crowds have to, the way you treat your body as an ally rather than a billboard. Downstream, the water slows into pools where others can come rinse off the day's dust without paying an entrance fee. This is your life as a watershed, fed from above, widened by habit, shared without panic. The crown of still waters is most visible when storms test the banks. Guests will arrive in your orbit carrying weather, fear with its crosswinds, grief with its gray, attraction with its sudden heat. Your calm does not deny the sky, it gives the sky a horizon. You do not rush grief with slogans. You do not reward fear with volume. You do not let attraction rename itself authority. You widen the river at the bend, making room for the swell so that nothing essential floods. Rooms like these learn trust the way fields learn seasons. Yield rises, harvests return. Peace does not mean everything moves slowly. It means nothing vital is hurried. You make quick decisions when mercy asks you to intervene before harm hardens. You make slow decisions when dignity requires time to ripen into yes. You end without drama and begin without trumpets. The pace itself teaches, chosen one, the quiet that follows you is not emptiness, it is order. When you enter a room, the space seems to remember its original settings. The noise lowers a notch without being told. Conversations turn from exhibition to exchange. Even the frantic person at the edge of the table breathes like they just found a place to set their bag. People call it hypnotic because they don't yet have language for resonance. Their nervous systems register steadiness and lean toward it. Steadiness is what your high energy has become under governance. Heat held by a hearth, voltage housed in clean wiring, a tide answering faithfully to its moon. This is why women pause mid-sentence when you arrive. It is not sorcery and it is not conquest. It is orientation. Your silence reads as safety, and safety is rarer than charisma. Your presence tells the room you are not hunting for applause, not auditioning for access, not trading attention for oxygen. You carry yourself like a person who already belongs to his assignment. That belonging is melodic in a culture addicted to dissonance. Their eyes turn because their bodies turn first. The body trusts what is coherent before the mind can explain it. Let your coherence remain a refuge rather than a trap. The same stillness that steadies can also starve if you season it with contempt. If your quiet becomes a wall, people will press themselves against it trying to discover your door. If your gaze becomes a hook, people will mistake their curiosity for covenant. You are learning a quieter art. To stand open without being porous, hospitable without being harvested. You do this by letting your posture say what your mouth will not shout. Shoulders unstacked from pride, hands unarmed by vanity, eyes that bless without bargaining, a mouth that keeps its pace even when attention begs for tempo. This unadvertised grammar turns attraction into atmosphere instead of theater. Your high sexual energy hums under all of this. You do not deny it, and you do not deify it. You treat it as strength on assignment. It wakes you early and asks for work. It stretches you beyond the lazy sarcasm that used to pass for wit and beyond the cheap mystery that used to pass for magnetism. It reminds you to hydrate, to sleep, to pray, to build, to finish, because a bright current in a brittle vessel becomes scandal instead of shelter. This month, you are caring for the vessel so the current remains useful. You are learning how to let desire stay human, named, blessed, bounded, directed, until it matures into a generosity others can live under. Notice how little you must say when your life is accurate. Women are not drawn to silence as performance. They are drawn to the peace inside it. You can speak simply, and meaning will travel farther than volume ever could. You can decline warmly, and dignity will remain on everyone's side of the table. You can receive admiration as a letter, not a lease. Where you used to fill the air to prove good intentions, you now allow the air to prove them. Your stillness becomes a litmus test. The frantic learn to slow without shame. The manipulative learn to leave without a scene. The honest learn to speak more honestly because your face does not charge a fee. There is a responsibility braided into this gift. Some eyes will come searching for rescue wearing attraction as a disguise. They will test your edges, not because they are cruel, but because few men have made edges feel like kindness. Keep the edges. Boundaries do not insult the worthy, they instruct the weary. Say the ordinary sentences that stop confusion from choosing costumes. I'm grateful, and I'm not available for that. I honor you and I move at the speed of truth. I enjoy this moment and I don't mortgage tomorrow. These lines are not slogans, they are shelter. Spoken without theater, they let admiration remain clean and longing remain human. Guard your mood as if it were a public utility. In a bright season, your interior weather becomes communal climate. If bitterness rises, the room chills. If vanity spikes, the oxygen thins. If gratitude returns, the air clears and conversation remembers its proportions. This is not pressure to be perfect. It is permission to be faithful. Faithful men repair quickly. When your tone nicked someone's trust, you circle back while the bruise is still soft. When temptation tried to turn attention into access, you name it aloud to the one who is never shocked by your humanity. And the naming robs it of leverage. When fatigue whispered that you are loved for being necessary, you rest like a protest and a prayer until the lie loses its job. The magnetic silence also asks you to become a student of exits. Leaving on time is how you keep mystery from becoming manipulation. You step away while warmth is still warmth, before scarcity sneaks in to make everything louder than it needs to be. You end the night with a sentence that has nothing to sell and everything to save. This was good? Let's keep it good. In doing so, you teach chosen ones around you that restraint is not fear, it is fidelity in motion. They watch you stay human at the exact moment performance would have been cheaper, and something in them rises to match it. At day's end, return the silence to its source. Lay the compliments down where you lay the criticisms. Name the moment you enjoyed being impressive and the moment you chose to be present instead. Name the invitation you refused that would have made you louder and smaller. Name the prayer you whispered when you felt your power magnetize a room and didn't want to mistake it for permission. Then sleep like a man whose shine is not rented from strangers. Tomorrow will call for the same coherence. You will have it, because coherence is not a mood. It is a vow you keep, one small choice at a time. Chosen one, the gaze that lingers is often looking for itself. When women meet you and their attention holds, they are not witnessing a spell. They are encountering a mirror. Your alignment reflects possibility back to them. A version of their strength unbent by cynicism, their softness unpunished by speed, their intelligence unpriced by markets that rarely pay women fairly in dignity. Your calm tells them there is room for their full voice. Your boundaries tell them there is room for their full safety. Your laugh tells them joy is not a negotiation. In that reflection, memory wakes. They recall who they were before fear taught them to rehearse smaller stories. A mirror can heal or harm depending on who holds it. If you turn it toward your ego, it becomes a trap. Every glance a confirmation, every sigh a currency, every conversation a ledger. But if you hold it like a steward, the mirror becomes ministry. You angle it toward higher light. You let people see themselves without distortion. You decline to turn their admiration into a debt. You remind them, sometimes with nothing more than the way you breathe, that they are not late, not too much, not impossible. You refuse to be the destination. You become instead a brief, bright accuracy that sends them home taller. Projection will arrive wearing both roses and warnings. One person will paint you as rescue because their story needs a hero. Another will paint you as hazard because their history needs a villain. The mirror doesn't argue with paintings. It returns to clarity. You name what is yours and what is not in sentences that neither flatter nor fight. I can listen, and I cannot carry what your history hired me to hold. I can be kind, and I will not be rented. I can enjoy this connection, and I will not trespass my own covenant. Spoken in a warm tone, these boundaries do not humiliate. They simply remove theater from the stage until truth has space to speak. Your high sexual energy participates here as illumination, not hypnosis. It brightens details that confusion keeps in shadow. It brings color back to cheeks that shame has drained. It sharpens edges around choices so that consent is not an afterthought, but a forethought. You let the light tell the truth about doors, which are open, which are closed, which are beautiful but not yours. Desire becomes a teacher when it's allowed to inform without being allowed to govern. You thank it for its lessons and then ask purpose to write the policy. In this order, no one has to be dismantled for you to feel powerful. The mirror must be kept clean. Humility is the cloth. When praise lands, you do not swat it away with false modesty. You place it where it belongs, as feedback about what God and discipline have done together. When critique lands, you do not dramatize it as persecution. You examine it for the small percentage that can make you truer. When misunderstanding swells, you do not chase it with explanations that make you the subject of a story that isn't yours. You let fruit handle your PR. The people you return to themselves will advocate without noise. Time will testify without invoices. Sometimes the mirror reveals hunger that has not learned its own name. A woman may feel magnetized and assume you are the meal. You honor the hunger by naming its source. You say without sermon and without shame that attention is not affection, chemistry is not covenant, and wonder is not a warrant. You offer a glass of water where thirst tried to buy wine. You offer a clear yes where ambiguity hoped to keep options warm. You offer a gentle no where fantasy attempted to recruit you as a character. These offerings are not cold, they are pastoral. They save both of you from a story that would have been expensive in regret. You will also meet strength equal to your own, presence that reads you clearly and chooses curiosity over conquest. With such women, the mirror becomes dialogue. You learn as much as you teach. You practice the art of admiration that does not audition. You discover new sections of your own blueprint reflected in their courage, their intellect, their wit. Mutuality is the safest electricity on earth. It gives without posing for cameras. It receives without tallying. It lets both people leave with more agency than they brought. Keep your language precise so the mirror doesn't smudge. Flattery fogs it, clarity clears it. You can say, I find you compelling and still protect tomorrow. You can say, I am not available for romance and still honor the connection. You can say, I'm interested in building something that outlasts mood and then prove it with calendar and craft. Precision is slow mercy. It prevents people from writing scenes you never promised to act in. It also prevents you from performing versions of yourself your soul cannot afford. The maintenance of this mirror requires solitude. Alone is where you let God measure you, without the applause that would inflate or the criticism that would shrink. Alone is where you remember that being the chosen one does not mean being the central one. Alone is where you release any compliment you subconsciously took hostage and any wound you secretly weaponized. Alone is where you return to being a person, not a projection screen. In that privacy, your light stops trying to be impressive and returns to being useful. At night, review the reflections you hosted. Where did someone stand taller after speaking with you? Where did you become a better listener because you decided accuracy mattered more than appearing wise? Where did you soften your tone without softening your standards? Where did you confuse being wanted with being called, and how did you fix it? Gratitude for the first, repentance for the second, sleep for both. Morning will ask for the same clean mirror. You will bring it. And if anyone insists on calling your effect hypnosis, let them. You know what it truly is. A life trained to reflect light without stealing it. A standard that helps chosen ones remember themselves. A man who can be looked at without making looking dangerous. You carry the mirror carefully, and you keep walking. Chosen one, there is a difference between magnetism and gravity. Magnetism shouts with sparks. Gravity whispers with weight. Your high energy once flashed like lightning, brilliant, startling, gone in a breath. Now, under God's hand, it has condensed into mass, integrity layered on integrity until rooms can feel the pull of your coherence before they can name it. This is why people orient when you arrive. Not because you demand attention, but because your steadiness gives everything else something reliable to move around. Gravity does not chase comets, it offers a center. Real presence is a quiet astronomy. Women notice the change first because bodies read safety faster than minds craft sentences. They enter your orbit and find, to their surprise, that they are not being captured, but calibrated. They feel themselves becoming more accurate, speech unforced, humor clean, posture unarmored. Your draw is not a cage, it is a climate. This is the holy difference between allure and predation. Allure respects distance and timing, understands that orbits require space, and knows that closeness without consent collapses into collision. Predation, by contrast, devours distance and calls it destiny. You have been chosen to model an older wisdom, to be a sun, not a black hole. Suns hold themselves, generate their own light, and give without consuming their planets to prove they are powerful. Black holes swallow what they cannot steward. The world has seen enough of those. Choose to burn, not to devour. Gravity, when held righteously, is hospitality with a spine. You create a center where honesty can sit down without rehearsing. You are learning the craft of proportion, and proportion is how safety gets built. You keep conversations at a temperature where truth can survive, where compliments do not become contracts, where admiration does not turn to entitlement simply because the room is warm. You listen until words relax. You speak only what your peace can carry. You let silence do its part of the work. If someone leans closer because the air is gentle, you do not mistake the lean for a lease. You bless closeness by clarifying its terms. In this way, attraction becomes architecture, not accident. There is a temptation inside every bright season to use gravity as leverage. You will notice how easily doors open, how schedules adjust, how even conflicts soften when you enter. The immature heart will try to translate this into discounts on the cost of virtue, a pass on patience here, a shortcut on consent there, a little borrowing from tomorrow's peace because today's applause is loud. Gravity governed refuses that exchange. You do not let your weight bend rules designed to keep love sweet. You slow the moment instead, reminding yourself that the strongest pull you exert must be toward what is good, not merely what is available. If curiosity approaches with hungry eyes, you greet it with kindness and boundaries, because boundaries are bridges between honest people, not walls between adversaries. The bridge remains open only as long as dignity crosses both ways. Your presence also reorganizes envy without needing to speak of it. In certain rooms, attention sharpens into competition because scarcity has been teaching liturgies for years. When you carry gravity, you end the liturgy by not playing. You bless the contribution of others out loud. You step aside when the work needs a different center of mass. You lend your steadiness and resist the urge to be necessary. Necessary men become brittle, assigned men become durable. You are assigned, free to pivot, free to rest, free to say not for me when an opportunity asks you to shrink your soul to fit its stage. In that freedom, others remember theirs. This is how chosen ones multiply safety, by refusing to turn influence into oxygen and then hoarding it. The physics of your life now requires a chart of ethical orbits. Some lives will pass near you once, flare with beauty, and keep traveling. Bless their trajectory, do not lasso them. Some will circle closely for a season and then widen to a safe distance as seasons change. Let the widening be gentle and unsuspicious. Some will become constant companions, peers, mentors, beloveds, whose orbits stabilize your own and whose counsel keeps your gravity from turning into entitlement. Name those companions, honor their mass in your life, feed their presence the attention it deserves. You are no solitary star. You belong to constellations that teach travelers how to cross the dark. There is also the matter of tides. Gravity moves water, and water tells truth about what is hidden. Your presence will lift emotions to shorelines where they can be seen. Laughter will rise more easily, grief will collect at the edges of sentences, longings will draw pictures on the sand before words are ready. Treat tides like guests, not suspects. When someone's eyes shine, let them speak. When someone's voice falters, slow your own. When desire names itself, show it the map of your covenant and let it choose honestly whether it can walk with you at that pace. Tides will also visit your chest. Don't mistake your own rising for a demand. You are allowed to feel deeply and still answer carefully. Depth becomes danger only when it refuses to be shepherded. Your gravity is fed through ordinary acts that will never trend. Sleep with humility so your strength doesn't borrow cruelty to keep itself awake. Drink water before opinion so thirst does not dress itself as destiny. Keep the appointment with prayer so your inner mass remains centered where weather cannot reach. Finish what you promise so rooms learn that warmth here does not come with invoices later. Laugh in ways that do not hire someone else's embarrassment as entertainment. These are small decisions that make large orbits safe. They are also how you keep from falling into the oldest trap, mistaking being watched for being wise. Wise men live accurately when no one is watching, so that when they are, the view is safe for everyone. Finally, learn the art of release. Gravity that refuses release becomes tyranny. There will be faces you cherished that must move on, seasons you adored that must conclude, versions of yourself that must be thanked and retired. Release them with prayer, not with performance. If you broke something, repair. If you could not repair, refuse to rename breakage a blessing. If you loved well and timing changed, bless what was without auditioning resentment to write your next chapter. Release keeps your orbit clean. Clean orbits draw clean souls. That is the true miracle of presence. Not that people can't look away, but that when they do, they see more clearly than before. Chosen one, sound reaches the heart faster than grammar. Before a sentence decides its nouns, tone has already told the body whether it can come out from behind the curtain. This is why women sometimes lean towards you, even when your phrases are plain. Your voice, by which I mean your timbre, your pace, your pauses, your posture, your breath, carries a weather system. Under God's training, your high energy has become a climate of articulation. You speak with air that has been filtered by reverence, and the room inhales. Words arrive as evidence of alignment, not substitutes for it. The first voice that shapes the others is the one you use inwardly. If your inner narration is a drill sergeant demanding spectacle, your outer tone will hunt for rooms to dominate. If your inner voice is a coward hiding behind compliments, your outer tone will flatter where it should clarify. Governance begins by discipling the words you never say out loud. Talk to yourself as a steward speaks to a trust, firmly, truthfully, without humiliation. Bless desire as a guest, ask it direct questions, assign it a seat, and put wisdom at the head of the table. When the inner counsel is honest, the outer sound becomes simple. Simplicity is what people mistake for hypnosis. It is merely the absence of clutter. Your pauses are part of your vocabulary. A pause says, I am not trying to win you, I am trying to be true with you. A slower sentence says, I believe we will both still be here after this truth lands. Silence after someone reveals something tender says, I will not spend your courage with my cleverness. In a world where speed has impersonated care, your pacing becomes pastoral. Women who have been rushed through their own stories will feel the novelty of someone who refuses to let urgency set the fee schedule for intimacy. Your restraint is not coyness, it is craftsmanship. You do not more words on the table than the future can afford to carry. There is music to honest boundaries, and you are learning its key. I'm grateful, and I won't cross that line. I'm honored, and I move at the speed of truth. I'm drawn, and I'm guarding tomorrow. These phrases, voiced without edge, turn heat into light. They teach that consent is not a bureaucratic form, but a melody where both voices can be beautiful. The more your mouth normalizes such music, the less mystery must carry the burden of allure. People will call your tone gentle, let them. Gentleness is not the absence of power, it is power trained to bless. Be careful, though, not to use tone as a tool of manipulation. A smooth baritone can hide a sharp agenda. A calm cadence can cloak control. The test is always agency. Do people leave conversations with more or less authorship over their own choices? If your voice makes others feel smaller to make space for your legend, you are not enchanting, you are conscripting. Repent quickly when you notice the drift. Ask forgiveness without performance. Change your phrasing before you change the subject. The world has had enough of men whose mouths were impressive and expensive. You are being fashioned into a man whose words become windows, not walls. Your communication will often be read through text before it is heard by ear. Even there, your voice can be pastoral. Punctuate with proportion. Emojis and exclamation points are seasoning, not sauce. Write like someone whose time belongs to God, which means you will answer when you can actually bring attention, not when anxiety demands instant reaction. If desire rises during the thread, do not perform it with irresponsibility. Put your phone down and let your soul rejoin your thumbs. Precision in digital spaces is part of the vow of safety you carry. The same energy that could send 3 reckless lines in a minute can fund a disciplined hour that keeps the next year clean. The voice beyond words is also posture. Shoulders that do not crowd, hands that rest, eyes that witness rather than harvest, breaths that do not hurry the other person across their sentence. These preach quietly. Women whose histories made them experts in microtones will notice that your body does not require them to be smaller to feel safe. They will remember the conversation, not because you dazzled them with phrases, but because your presence allowed their own voice to surprise them with its strength. This is the point. If your communication minimizes the other, it has failed, even if they leave starstruck. If your communication magnifies the other without auctioning yourself, it has succeeded, even if they leave with no fireworks. There is a prayer you can keep near your throat before rooms open. Let my words leave people with more agency, not less, more clarity, not more choreography, more peace, not more pressure. Pray it until your sentences carry it without you remembering to try. Then make amends when you miss. Small repairs keep your sound trustworthy. I rushed you. Let me slow down. I was clever when I should have been clear. Here is what I actually mean. I heard what I wanted. Now I want to hear what you said. Such confessions are rare enough to be magnetic. They also detox your charisma, so it stops trying to earn what integrity will build in due time. In certain moments, your voice will be asked to bless. Blessing is not flattery. Blessing names what is true and calls what could be true into the open. When you bless, you speak with the gravity of someone who answers to more than the room. You are not late, spoken to a weary woman who thought the calendar had humiliated her. Your no is holy, spoken to a soul trained to apologize for boundaries. You are safe to take your time, spoken when the world is selling speed like salvation. Blessings like these are sacraments men can carry in their mouths. Use them carefully. They move furniture and hearts. Do not neglect the way your voice closes things. Endings are the most memorable sentences in any chapter. When you finish a conversation, do it while tenderness still has breath. Offer a summary that keeps dignity on both sides. Offer a plan that does not mortgage anyone's tomorrow. Offer a farewell that returns power rather than hoarding it. This was good. Keep what's yours. Departures lists train communities to expect clean exits. Clean exits create trust. Trust over time becomes the very definition of your sound. And when the day is done, return your voice to the altar where it learned its pitch. Sit in a quiet room and let your throat rest while your heart speaks. Tell God the jokes that kept you human. Tell him the tremor you felt when admiration tried to purchase access at a discount. Tell him where you cut a sentence short so wisdom could arrive, and where you let a sentence run too long because vanity enjoyed hearing itself. Ask for a gentler consonant tomorrow, a truer pause, a tone that makes it easier for truth to survive. Sleep under the promise that you do not have to enchant to be effective. You are a chosen one whose sound has been claimed for service, and service, in the end, is the most irresistible voice on earth. Chosen one, there is a difference between a blaze that devours and a hearth that keeps a house. Your high energy is fire by nature, and fire is honest. It will reveal what the room is made of, and it will reveal what you are made of. Unkept, it reaches for anything dry and calls it destiny. Governed, it warms without demanding a debt. This month, you are apprenticing yourself to the older art of holy combustion, the discipline of heat that heals. Think of the blacksmith who places steel in the coals and does not rush the color. Think of the baker who keeps the oven steady because bread is a relationship, not a race. Think of the potter who watches the kiln, knowing too much heat at the wrong hour turns vessel into ruin. Your body is a kiln, your attention the fuel, your desire the flame, your character the temperature gauge. If you learn to read the glow, you will stop being surprised by what you set alight. The first truth of the flame is that proximity matters. A bonfire seen from a hill brings a village together. A spark in a dry field scatters it. You are learning to choose the hill. You keep a portion of your warmth public, generous and unspecific. The smile that lowers a room's pulse, the calm that invites stories to unfold without audition, the humor that does not hire cruelty for laughs. This is warmth for many. The rest you reserve for covenant, heat that belongs inside promises, heat that has a home and a name. You do not apologize for this division. You maintain it like a good lamp keeps its oil. People who have only known men who spend heat like coins will be confused by your carefulness at first. In time, they will call it shelter. There is a pace to say fire, and it is slower than spectacle. You have felt the pull to accelerate the moment because the glow is persuasive and the room votes with its eyes. Speed is the counterfeit of intimacy. It produces the sensation of closeness without the structure to keep anyone whole. When the pull comes, Breathe until the feeling remembers its rightful place, as teacher, not tyrant. Ask your flame questions it cannot lie to. What will remain beautiful about this choice tomorrow morning? What honor will this make easier for both of us? Where is our shared yes, not just our simultaneous hunger? The temperature drops to truth when you ask, and in that honesty, your heat becomes service instead of strategy. Your flame will also be asked to cook what should only be warmed. Admiration arrives like raw bread dough. Lively, fragrant, not yet food. Many men shove it into the hottest oven and call the rising romance. You bless it differently. You give admiration language and time. You say the precise sentence that keeps it honest without turning it away. I see you and I won't sell you a future I don't intend to pay for. You leave room for respect to proof. You do not addict anyone to your glow to keep the night from feeling lonely. When loneliness comes, and it will, you treat it as weather, not as a reason to burn the furniture. You read a page, you take a walk, you pray the prayer that keeps tenderness from becoming currency, and the hour passes without a casualty. Every flame longs for fuel. You must choose yours. Rumor is cheap kindling. It crackles and dies. Vanity is gasoline. It roars and leaves a stain. Gratitude is hardwood. It burns steady and gives more heat than smoke. Build your fire with the slow materials. Thank you set on schedule. Rest honored before collapse. Food that respects your body. Friendships that do not require performance to keep their chairs. The room will feel the difference and not know why. Heat from hardwood does not make people nervous. It makes them human again.